Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Nitai Gora Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Nitai Gora Hare Bol. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. What's happening to this guy? Leave it here. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So auspicious day today, Krishna Janmashtami, appearance day of Lord Sri Krishna. So in the Western world, there's very little knowledge of Krishna, even knowledge of God. There's hardly any clear understanding what is God and what is not God. Jesus, people worship Jesus, that's true. But who is the Supreme Lord? In the Bible it says, should praise the Lord with all your heart, with all your soul. So he's that. So in our scriptures, Krishna is revealed, particularly in Bhagavad Gita. But the problem is again that Bhagavad Gita has to be understood in parampara, evam praptam imam rajasha yuvidu, as it says in Bhagavad Gita, that all the great sages, they follow this principle. They hear Bhagavad Gita in parampara of disciplic succession of spiritual masters over thousands of years. That is the right way. I mean, I read in college Bhagavad Gita. We studied comparative religion, and I didn't have a clue after reading the Bhagavad Gita what this was all about, Penguin edition, because it was translated by some scholars, and you cannot understand Krishna by scholarly perfection. Krishna says, only by undivided devotion can I be understood as I am standing before you. It's right in the Bhagavad Gita. It's not possible to understand Krishna by mental speculation. You have to hear from a self-realized soul. You have to hear from Srila Prabhupada, for example. You have to hear from a self-realized soul who has realized the impact of Bhagavad Gita. There are so many books out on religion, and I read quite a bit of them. But I have to tell you, I got Srila Prabhupada's Ishupanishad one evening, one fine day, and I read it overnight. I couldn't sleep. It was so good. And by the end, once I finished this book in a couple of hours, I realized this is for me. I want to do that. This is exactly what I'm looking for. And that's a long time ago. That's 54 years ago. And it strung a chord in me. It was so simple, it was very clear, very perfect. Everything was explained, not in flowery language, but very clear who is God and what our relationship is with God. This is not clear to most people on the planet. Nate vidu svata gatem hi Vishnu. It says in Bhagavatam, people do not know what is the goal of life. People think the goal of life is to become very rich, that's very proficient on the material platform. And that's also, there's some advantage in there, because we have to maintain our family. But beyond that, beyond developing that capacity, we have to develop a spiritual dimension, a spiritual parallel, a spiritual dimension, which is there. I mean, there's nothing spiritual about fighting on the battlefield. Fighting, killing people is not what's spiritual about it. But because Arjuna fought for Krishna, therefore this Kurukshetra was on a higher dimension. It was in Krishna's service, and everybody who died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra went back to Godhead. They will all become liberated. This is not mundane warfare, which is mostly driven by money and by power, by imperialism, religious imperialism, racial imperialism, national imperialism. These are the powers that drive war, basically speaking. So this war was very different. It was the fight of the righteous against the unrighteous people. And Arjuna didn't want to fight initially. He didn't want to cause any harm to anybody, and Krishna convinced him that this is your duty as a kshatriya to fight. Everybody has a duty in the material world. It says there are 80 verses in Bhagavad Gita that speak about duty. I mean, even Prabhupada in his last moments, I happened to be right beside his bed. One godbrother of him came and said, Swamiji, you have done incredible. You have done something wonderful. And he said, I simply did my duty. D-U-T-Y, he said, duty. That's all. It's my duty. And so husband has duty, wife has duty. And in the Western world, because there's no common sense is not very common in Western countries, therefore they don't understand what is the duty. It is not the duty of the husband to hang the laundry up. His duty is to provide a house, provide facilities, and take care of the children. His business is to focus on the maintenance of the household. This is a traditional way. The husband is doing one thing, the wife does another thing. Of course, in the Western world, there's no such a thing. Nothing is clear. People are not even clear whether they're male or female. And so everything goes. But if you look at Shastra, then you know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Ya Shastra virim utsi java atate kama karata. If you act out of whimsicality, Ya Shastra virim utsi java, and not listen to Shastra vatate kama karata, nasasidim avapnoti. There is no perfection, na sukham, no happiness, na param gatim. Nor will man achieve the supreme destination. Right in Scripture, right in Bhagavad Gita. So, even the gopis in Vrindavan, they were engaged in all kinds of quite ordinary activities, besides associating with Krishna in Gopi Bhav. They were engaged in making butter and making ghee and feeding the children and milking cows and like everybody else. But the difference is, whatever they did, yat karoshi, yat yashnashi, yat juhoshi, dadasi, whatever you do for Krishna. Their mind was always on Krishna. And they performed these duties in Krishna consciousness. And that is the idea. Some young boy, he wants to get married, he has to get some education. Otherwise, how can he maintain his family? He has to go to the university, like this boy, for example. That's his Kurukshetra, right there. And he tries to get good grades, get a good education, so that ultimately he can maintain a family very comfortable, rather than he needs to stand on a building site. And so that's his Kurukshetra. So everybody has his Kurukshetra, his duty, and do this duty in Krishna's service, in Krishna's seva. That is the idea. All that you do, all that you eat, all that you give away, you should do for me, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. That's the thing. We're entering the sphere of Krishna consciousness, doing our duties, not some dumb job. Even a dumb job becomes glorified if we think about Krishna. I mean, even when I was a student, I had to, in the breaks, I had to go sometimes and make some extra money. And so in front of the university, there were always people saying, we need so many students right now for this and this work. And mostly this was building work or street work or something very simple. We don't need any education for that. And so, fortunately enough, I got a book of one guru. He wrote, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. I remember one thing very clearly. He said, whatever you do, you should do for God in your mind. And so here's the thing. I actually practice this for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and put every brick into the barrel in this consciousness. And I was in bliss. I was serving God all day. And the worker said, how come you're always so happy? He said, I love this work. How can you love this work? We hate this work. What's your secret? I said, that I cannot tell you. Because they were not able to appreciate the subtlety of it. You know, so, but I was in ecstasy. You can do any work you can do in Krishna consciousness. That is the idea. So Prabhupada has brought this message of Krishna all over the world. And he has created our good fortune, no doubt about it. One time, I can honestly say in front of the Lordship, I created a good fortune. And so our life whatever the activity may be is ultimately even irrelevant. It can be this activity, that, whatever it is. We can connect this with Krishna and chant Krishna's name. We are here today to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Who is God? You can read the whole Bible. I mean, I studied theology. There's no clear understanding what is God. You ask anybody, what is actually God? Don't know. Then if you explain this is God, they say that's not God. That means irrational. If you have never eaten a pizza, you don't know what is pizza. You don't know how it smells, you don't know how it tastes, you don't know how it looks like. Have you ever any idea of pizza? He said, no. I said, well, here's pizza. He said, no. This means he's not rational. So the world is full of irrational people, basically speaking. And common sense is not very common in the Western world. But there's spiritual. The common sense of the material world is still imperfect. There is a common sense on a spiritual platform, which is not the common sense of this material world. That Mother Yashoda can look into the mouth of Krishna and see the whole universe. That's not common sense from a material point of view. And Krishna can live to whole Govardhan Hill. There's no common sense from a material point of view. But it makes all the sense on the spiritual platform. It's a higher common sense. And so we cannot penetrate the activities in the spiritual world with our senses, with our mundane senses. What's that verse, Yadadi? Man cannot understand with his senses, this verse. Atrasi Krishna Namadina Bhavikram Indriyai. Sevon Mukhi Jiva Dos Varma Ivam Spuratyada. One cannot understand God through his material senses. Not possible. You don't have the ticket. I mean, if you work, for example, in a factory, if you're an ordinary factory worker, yes, you get a key card and you can go into the factory, the shop floor, you can go to the bathroom, you can go to the canteen. That's it. The next person, he's more qualified, he has used the same, looks the same, he can go to middle management, to planning and financing or whatever. If he's even more qualified, he can go to the boardroom of the directors. If he's excellently or supremely qualified, he can see the man on the top in the penthouse. So knowledge, spiritual knowledge, is given according to qualification. A bullock can never understand Bhagavad Gita. You can speak Bhagavad Gita to a bullock for the rest of the Kali Yuga, and the bullock will not understand it. And so most people are not able, they don't have the karma to understand Bhagavad Gita. You have to have some good karma. Otherwise, it will be a secret. I mean, how is it that everything is so clearly explained and still people are not able to penetrate it? How come that people can penetrate only to a certain degree? Because of karma. The same truth is speaking to two people. One people said makes no sense to me, the other one makes a lot of sense to me. Karma. Brahmana, Brahmine, Kona, Bhagyavan, Jiva, the fortunate soul. Somebody is fortunate due to some karmic qualification. He's able to understand it, he's able to take it. And others, not possible. Not possible. Even if you speak it, they can't understand. And so, if I ask you this question, do you remember anybody from kindergarten? Yourself? I do. I still remember. What about primary school? Anybody remembers? Secondary school? High school? College? Where is everybody? Where is everybody? Everybody went this way. Why? Because Krishna, he wants you to go this way, and people in the material world, they want to go that way. You see? Therefore, they cannot understand Krishna. If you want to understand Krishna, Krishna does that like this. You have to go like on a puppet, on a string. You have to go like this. You have to link up with Krishna. If you don't link up, you can never understand. Only by undivided devotion can I be understood, Krishna says. Naham prakasa savasya Yoga maya samavitaha, mudo yamnavijanati. Fools cannot understand. And so in the material world, most people are foolish. When it comes to spiritual life, yes. I don't say that, but Krishna is insulting people 5 times in Bhagavad Gita. There are 5 verses where he talks about mudas. Namam diskitinu muda prapadanti. They don't surrender unto me. There's another one. And so there has to be some qualifications there. And you can achieve such qualification by agyata sukriti. Even unknowingly you perform a pious act to the right person. This is agyata sukriti. There was I remember one fellow who visited us, and somehow or other he brought some friends with him, and they were able to listen. So he did not know what he was walking to, but they actually became involved in Krishna consciousness. There was agyata sukriti, unknowingly he performed a perfect act. So by some sort of agyata sukriti, unknowingly performed spiritual act, people become qualified. They get the right card to be able to understand. I mean, if you look at Mount Kailash, so many people went to Mount Kailash. 2 of our sannyasis, who was it? Indra Maharaj, Satchinanda Swami. They went around Mount Kailash. What do you see? An unhospitable mountain. Beautiful, snow-capped, beautiful mountain. But that's all you see. But if you go into Bhagavatam, it explains that there's a huge banyan tree, 600 miles high, white, and Lord Shiva is sitting there in great gravity by great sages, accompanied by the Sanat Kumars and other great sages. That is a reality. But we see only a fraction of that reality. It's not that what we see is not reality, but it's a fraction. Just when you go to the bath, you have a guest here and he wants to go to the bathroom. He has no interest whatsoever. So you show him the bathroom, he goes there. He comes out. What has he seen of this place? Very little. He saw definitely this temple, but only very limited, he had very limited access. So everything is based on access. As Krishna says, Yeya tamam prapadati tam satai bhajami. According he surrenders unto me, I reward him, I give him knowledge. I, out of compassion, with a burning lamp of knowledge, is that the right word? With a burning lamp of knowledge, destroy the darkness born of ignorance. That's right in the Bhagavad Gita. So that's Krishna's mercy, that he enlightens the devotees. The more you go into it, the more you get knowledge. There's no rocket science. It's very simple. The more you qualify in a company, the more you get promotion, obviously. The people who sit in a boardroom, they acquired a lot of, a lot of credits doing their work in the company. So they're promoted to the top position in the material world, as well as in the spiritual world. So we cannot expect to be promoted to the kingdom of God. Show me God. Who are you to see God? What's your qualification? Well, I don't see God. Well, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that you cannot see, because you don't make an endeavor. You know, for everything, if you want to get your degrees, you have to make some endeavor. That's what it is. And so if you want to appreciate Krishna, the Supreme Personality, you have to make some endeavor. Without endeavor, you can't get a degree, you can't drive a car. He's an expert car mechanic, a master of engineering almost. He's an expert. I mean, he has qualification fixed. You give him any car, he fixes it. He knows exactly what's wrong. He's so expert, he can make a rocket to bring you to the moon. An expert mechanic. And so everything is based on qualification. And people, that's because we don't see anything, because we cannot see the kingdom of God with our mundane eyes. Therefore, we think it doesn't exist. It doesn't mean that we are not very intelligent, spiritual intelligence, that we don't have access to it, that we didn't earn it. I remember one time I walked with Srila Prabhupada on a morning walk. It was in Germany. And I asked him a very blunt question. I said, Srila Prabhupada, can I know about your internal life? It was a very blunt question. And he said, he didn't answer. So I was young. I asked Srila Prabhupada, can I know about it? You know? And he stopped, he said, first deserve, and then desire. That was his answer. Chant Hare Krishna. So first deserve. You have to deserve it to get entrance into the spiritual sphere. You have to deserve it. You have to sit down and chant every morning some rounds. Even if you're working in a factory, even if you're working in business, an IT person, whatever, get yourself a bead bag. Where's my bead bag? Get yourself a bead, you can show. You get yourself a bead bag and chant every morning one round. Just one round a day for a start. Every day. You get out of bed, you take a shower and sit down. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama. 5 minutes, like 10 minutes. That's all you start with. And you will see, gradually, you develop a thirst. You develop more and more you want to get into it. It's very simple. It starts with Hare Krishna, chanting the mantra. The name of God, any name of God. God has many names. Nam, Nama, Karu, Bahu, Da, Nidra, Sarva, Shaktis. Says that God has many names. And this Allah is boys from Jordan. He's originally comes from a Muslim background. Allah is also name of God, and he came all the way here. You know, in any religiosity, there are names of God. How many names you have? Huh?
I don't know. 2. Yeah, let's say 2.
Everybody has some names. A wife has names for her husband. My wife has hundreds of names for me. So the thing is, God has unlimited names. There is interestingly enough, I gave a lecture a couple of months ago in our temple in Ireland. And there were some people sitting there, some well-dressed gentlemen, elderly people. They listened to the class. And so I talk about this subject, that God has many names. And in every religion there is some name for God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever, there's some name for God. And so I said we should understand this, that God has many names. The sun has, in every country the sun has a different name, but the sun is one. So I explained this, and I said there was a Catholic professor for Catholic theology in Birmingham. He wrote a book, God Has Many Names. And I said I really appreciated his insight. He said, very welcome to hear from a conservative Catholic background somebody who writes a book that God has many names. So the lecture was finished and everybody went, and then this group of people, 4 people, they went back to their boat. They were on a cabin cruiser. And the guy who drove the cabin cruiser, he said, you know who that was who sits in your class? I said, I have no idea. It's the Archbishop of Westminster. It's exactly the same person who kicked out the Son Hick, who wrote this book that God has many names. It was exactly the same person sitting in class. How Krishna arranged it. It's just, fate can be so incredible that he had to hear this. That just a lack of insightful if you don't recognize that God has many names. And so Krishna is unlimited. If you read scripture right from Brahma Samhita, Ishvara Parama Krishna, the Supreme Lord, Ishvara, Supreme Controller, Parama Krishna, is Krishna. Satchitananda Vigraha, his body is eternal, full of knowledge, full of bliss. Anadi Adi Govinda is the origin of everything. Sarva Karana Karana. He's the cause of all causes. Right there in Brahma Samhita. Brahma, the first living being, he says so. He glorifies Krishna. And Krishna is not shy. He says himself, Aham savasya Prabhu, matta famam pravartate, iti madvad bhajanti mam buddha bhavan samavita. I'm the source of everything. The whole creation rests upon me. One who is wise, who knows me, who worships me from all his heart. There is no truth beyond me, Krishna says even. All the universes are, not just planets, all the universes are resting on me like pearls are strung on a thread. Amazing, what he says. And Arjuna said, Param Bham, Param, what's it? Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitam Idamam Pum, Param Purusham, all the great sages, Asita Devala Vyasa, everybody says you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's right in Bhagavad Gita, you know. So we just have to hear from Krishna himself. He says, there's a single fragment of myself, maintain and support this entire, penetrate. I maintain and penetrate this entire universe. What a glorious thing to hear. Well, how wonderful that we are hearing about a person who's penetrating. He's in every atom. He's in every atom. He's everywhere. And he sees everything. And he does everything. You cannot even lift your hand without God. You cannot. You cannot see without God. You cannot taste, you cannot hear. Because we are not the body. I'm sitting in this body, the soul. So the soul hears through the bodily apparatus. But there's no connection from the body to the soul except of consciousness. And Krishna says, like the sun is penetrating the universe with light, the body is penetrating the body with consciousness. So without Krishna, you cannot, I can feel an itch because I'm conscious of the body. Where do I feel an itch? Right now, here. So what do? I, the soul, feel uncomfortable, I scratch myself. But how do I get my hand there if I'm not the body? Krishna, man proposes, God disposes, it says. He fulfills Nitya Nityananam, Chaitanas Chaitananam. He fulfills the wishes of all living beings. So he understands me, the super soul. And he causes the devas who are in charge for that. Hello? This is Krishna. Can you please lift up the hand of this Prithu Das? He wants to scratch his nose. Yes, Bhagavan sees me. This is how that works. We are not the doer. We are just sitting in this apparatus. You know? It's amazing. In detail, you can read this in Bhagavad Gita, how that works. You know? How that actually works, how the connection, what is the connection between the body and the soul? A whole second chapter of Bhagavad Gita is dedicated to the soul. If you ask people in the Western world, whether they're Christians, whether they're Muslims, or whether they're Jewish people, you ask them, who are you? You say, I'm a Jew, I'm a Christian. But who are you? What is the soul? What is the soul? There's no concept of soul. Because all of those, they believe there's only one life. There's only one life. In the Bible it says, a man is destined to live once, and after that the judgment. So there is only one life. You have one shot. And if you're happy, you go to heaven, and if you're not happy, you go to hell eternally. So what's knowledge? You cannot understand why the innocent suffer if you don't have a proper concept of soul. My brother died of cancer. He was only 7 years old. It was horrific. My mother never recovered. And I asked the priest, I said, Father, where is God in this? Why did he have to suffer so much? What was the answer? I don't know. But there must be an answer. Everyone reaps what he sows. It says in the Bible, what has he sown? God's mills are grinding very slowly but very precisely. So how do you put the two things together? You can only understand why a person suffers in this life if you connect the dots from a previous life. Then it becomes very clear. Very clear why a person suffers. And in India, every rickshaw-wala knows that. Right? A common sense in India, people know that you suffer in this life, the reaction of a previous life. Not so in the West. Not so in the West. There was a tsunami in Japan, 10 years, 12 years ago, a teleconference. So one little girl from Japan, she was obviously Japanese, her eyes were like this. And she was yellow in her face. Her name was Helena. That means she's a Christian. Japanese girl. She said, Holy Father, you know God. Why are all my friends dead? He said, I have the same question, and we don't have the answer. I can show you. I recorded it. You have no answer. The answer, Rupa Goswami, he asked this question to Lord Chaitanya, why am I suffering? And before he asked this question, he said, who am I? Kiyami. So unless you understand who you are, you cannot understand why you suffer. If you understand who you are, your existence is not just limited to this life. You had a previous life, and a previous life. So as you sow, you shall reap. Exactly. So everything makes sense if you have defined knowledge of soul. And you can go around, if you have friends in the Kami world, business friends, you can ask them, I have just one question. Can you explain to me why the innocent suffer? In the Western worldview of religiosity, can you answer this question? They will not be able to do it because there's no clear understanding, as in 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita. For the soul, there's no birth or death. Have we once be, will he ever cease, will he never cease to be? Never was a time that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these living beings, nor will there be a time that you will cease to be. As embodied soul continuously in this body from birth to youth, enters another body at death. One who's born, death is certain. One who dies, birth is certain. I mean, the whole thing, you get yourself a Bhagavad Gita for 500 rupees or whatever. You read the 2nd chapter, you're set. You're all set. Everything is explained. Why is it not possible that people do go down this way? Why don't they have a question of this kind? The simple question I asked when I was 10 years old. Why are they not capable? There may be a professor for quantum physics. Why doesn't he answer this question? Karma. He doesn't have the karma to ask this question. Nam prakasha savasya yogamai samavitaha. I'm not visible to people who don't have questions, who don't have the karma to ask questions. So they're covered by the illusion. What is this? They cannot hear me, they cannot see me. Therefore, the amazing thing is how Krishna is covered. The knowledge of Krishna is covered in the Western world, even in India, in so many ways. Tribal people cannot understand. You know? So therefore, Janmashtami is so important because we remember, we glorify Krishna's activity, how he came, yada yada hi dharmasya glane bhavati bharta, he comes into this world. And what is it? Paritranaya sadhunam vinasha, to bless the devotees and to destroy demonic forces. Krishna comes. And so Krishna comes in many forms. Like we have this Ram deity that was installed recently in Ayodhya. That was the biggest thing in modern Indian history since independence. That was the biggest thing. It was incredible. It made such an impact. It made such an impact. And so there are many forms of Krishna. Here we have Lord Nrsimhadev, they have Radha Krishna. Krishna manifests many different forms, but they're all Krishna. He's unlimited. What are we? Are souls. We are Maivam Shu Jiva Loke. We are Jiva Bhuta Sanatana. We are eternal parts of God, sharing the same quality of God. But He's infinite and we are infinitesimal in minor quantities. Everybody is God in one sense, but small gods. No reason to be puffed up. Very small gods. And so we can use our life, and I implore all of you, also our guests, get yourself a Bhagavad Gita, take one book and read it seriously. It will, because you're hearing from a self-realized soul, it makes all the difference in the world. Your eyes open when you read Prabhupada's books. No doubt about it. There's so many hidden things that come out when you read Prabhupada's books. Very important. And for your children also. It's important that you bring your children. I mean, our Munich temple, when I was involved in this temple, I asked, there's so many IT students come. And I asked them this question many times, how come you always come to the temple? What's the answer? From childhood. From childhood, my grandparents brought me to the temple. It's a habit. You see? So it has to become a habit. We have to bring our children to the temple. It's very important. Otherwise they get spoiled in the Western world. I brought my kids when they were in a young age to India. They speak fluent Hindi and Bengali now. It's a long time ago. But to save them from the influence of the Western world, one thing they learn right away, no respect. No respect for others, no respect for other religions, no respect for elderly people, no respect towards the parents. This is the Western culture. It means no respect. You can walk into any country, exploit the country in the name of the empire, and suck their blood worldwide for hundreds and hundreds of years. Where's the respect towards other people's religiosity or other people's culture? Anybody who does that, he is a dacoit, basically speaking. just emptying out the pockets of other people. What kind of business is that? So on this day, we have an opportunity to see Krishna, to worship Krishna. The books are there. We can take books, and we can glorify the Supreme Lord, who is so kindly come to us in this particular age of Kali, by giving us the holy name. Kali Dosha Nidhi Rajan, O King. This age of Kali, Kali Dosha, is an ocean of darkness. Nidhi, Nida. Asti eva magunan, but there's one good quality. Kirtanat eva Krishnasya, by chanting the name of Krishna. Mukta Bandha, one becomes free from bondage. Param Prajet, and one sees the supreme destination. It's right there in Bhagavatam. So many verses. Even the last verse of Bhagavatam says this. The last verse of 22,000 verses, I think. Huh? 18,000. What does it say? Huh? Let's look. Where's where are my spectacles? This is not mine. This is a long distance. Give me 1 second, I have it. Srimad-Bhagavatam 12, 13, last verse. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param. I offer my respectful obeisance unto Supreme Lord, Hari. The congregation is chanting of whose holy name destroys all karmic reactions. And the offering of obeisance unto him relieves us from all material suffering. That's the last word of Srimad-Bhagavatam, the ultimate conclusion. This is wonderful, right here. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Samanas Tam Namami Harim Param. Offer my respectful obeisance. So what we have to understand is this. There's a beautiful verse I would like to share with you. Just now coming.
Prabhu, I'll give you this.
Vasudeva Paraveda, Vasudeva Paramakaha, Vasudeva Para Yoga, Vasudeva Para Kriya, Vasudeva Param Jnanam, Vasudeva Param Tapaha, Vasudeva Paro Dharmo, Vasudeva Paragati. In the scriptures, real scriptures, the ultimate object of knowledge is Krishna. The purpose of performing sacrifice is to please him. Yoga is for realizing him. All fruitive activities are ultimately rewarded by him only. He is the supreme knowledge, and all austerities are performed to know him. Religion, dharma, is rendering service unto him. He is the supreme goal of life. And so Arjuna, after listening to Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, he says, you are the supreme primeval object. You are the ultimate resting place of all this universe. You are inexhaustible. You are the oldest. You are the maintainer, the eternal religion, the supreme personality of Godhead. You are the supreme Brahman, the ultimate abode, the supreme purifier, the eternal divine person, the primal God, unborn and all-pervading. All the great sages such as Narada, Asita, Veda, Devala, and Vyasa confirmed this truth about you, and now yourself are declaring it to me. You are the imperishable, the supreme to be known. You are the ultimate resting place of all, the protector of eternal religion. I consider you to be the supreme personality of Godhead. Wow. Hi, Krishna. You have any questions? So we are in a very fortunate position that some are other Krishnas in reach. You can come anytime and visit, and to renovate your potential spirituality. It's already there. The word religion is an interesting word. This comes from Latin. Re means again, like reunion. You meet people after some time, reunion. So legare. Legare means to reconnect with God, which implies that we have been connected before. You cannot have a reunion with people you never saw before. So it implies that we're connecting to some, right in Bhagavad Gita, what is Krishna in the 6th chapter, verse number 2. Let me just look it up, give me a moment. Bhagavad Gita 6, 2. What is renunciation of this world is known to be the same as yoga, or linking oneself to the Supreme. Linking oneself. Same legare, same word. Linking. Spiritual life is a linking process. We reconnect ourselves with God. We came from the spiritual world at one stage, and now we are here, and we have to work. We should go back up there because we don't have to pay bills in the spiritual world. We can just be in peaceful life. You cannot find peace outside of God. That's not possible. Not possible. You can try, but you won't be able to be peaceful. Krishna says, what is this verse in Bhagavad Gita? Gyatva mam shantim richati. Yoginam api sarvesham, of all the yogis. Mahat Katarantranandana. That's not the verse. What is the verse? The perfection of yoga. Huh? This is another verse. Gyatva mam shantim richati. One who knows me can achieve peace. That's what it says in Bhagavad Gita. So this is a very glorious day in our life. Congratulations for all who are here. Some or other, you push the right button to sit in this room and keep on pushing this button for your benefit and the benefit of your family members and anybody who can see, you see. And have a life. If you add spiritual life to your life, you actually have a life. Otherwise, what are you living for? People don't know what they're living for. For what? Whatever you acquire, you lose. What kind of business is that? Won't you invest in a bank that you know it goes bankrupt tomorrow? It makes no sense. So whatever you acquire in spiritual life, you can never lose. Never. Not every single thing. What is that verse? Yoga kshemam vahamyam. I maintain what we have and I add what is missing. That's the verse right there in Bhagavad Gita. Thank you very much. It was nice having you here. If you have any question, yeah.
Spoke about that Krishna is penetrating all.
Huh?
Krishna is penetrating everything. So every atom is in every heart of the living beings and so on. And so
He says that.
yeah.
Ishvara sarva bhutanam, the Lord of all creatures, Ridi Arjuna Tishtati. I'm sitting in everyone's heart. Brahmayan sarva bhutani. I move everybody. You cannot move without Krishna. He moves you. Yantarudhani Maya, who's sitting on a machine made of material energy made by Maya.
That means nothing is separated from Krishna. Nothing is separated from Krishna. So sometimes I try to meditate upon it so that I can everything connect to Krishna. But then sometimes there are some disturbances from outside or wherever, and I'm also disturbed and I'm forgetting it. So how can we come in a state of mind to see it permanently? That
See,
everything is connected.
if we are connected with Krishna, if we are actually spiritually conscious, we will not be confused by anything. We understand that everything moving and non-moving, there's nothing but Krishna. When we encounter suffering in the material world, people in generally, they see suffering as being something outside the jurisdiction of God. But it is not. This is actually the medicine. Everybody has to drink his own soup to learn a lesson. So God is at every moment He's active. There's nothing but God. I remember Prabhupada said that in his last days, everything moving and non-moving, there's nothing but Krishna. This consciousness is called Krishna consciousness. So it's one who sees me everywhere, Yomam pashyati sarvatra, sarvam samay pashyati, one who sees me everywhere and sees everything in me. A person on that level of consciousness. I'm never lost to him, nor is he ever lost to me. So on a spiritual level, we have no problems to see that whatever happens at every moment is Krishna's mercy to save us from material. We are able to connect whatever happens at every second to Krishna's will. That Krishna has come to me in this particular situation. I mean, even in my own life, my lessons I learned from suffering. The best lessons I learned from suffering. If you're so comfortable in the material world, what do you learn? You just enjoy. Suffering just means to pay the bill. If you go to a shop, you put so many things into the shopping bag. You come to the counter. The guy gets $55. You say, that's unfair. No, it's in your bag. Whatever's in your bag, you're going to pay it. Now, if you know the man who's the manager or the owner of the shop, and he sees you and you go, he may say, you go. That's Krishna. I'm from Prabhu. He turned to me, I solve all your financial problems. He can do that. But otherwise, suffering is just paying bill. It doesn't bring you to a new quality. It's like when you sit in jail. You paid your bill. But when you come out, it's not that you advance in any way. You start exactly where you left. But if you turn to God, then you're advancing. You paid your lesson. Not only that, He gives you knowledge. This is how we should solve our problems. By turning to Krishna. In all activities depend on me. This is verse. If you depend on me, you can cross over all difficulties of material life by my grace. What is that verse? Machita. You direct your consciousness towards me. Machita sarva durgani. All difficulties that come from Durga. Mat prasada, by my mercy, will be dissolved. So we don't have to work like asses to solve our problems. We just have to turn to Krishna. And he will manage. Like Prabhupada said, when Gaunitai did his installed, we just go to Gaunitai and say, I have this problem. I don't know what to do about it. Please give me a hand. And Hazel makes arrangements. Man proposes, God disposes. But we are so stubborn and so thick-headed that we don't want to go on our knees, and pray for mercy. Any other question? I thank you so much. I hope it gave you something. It's a negative way to become free from reactions by just paying bill. The positive way is you chant the holy name of Krishna. You get your bills are paid automatically. The more you chant, the more you turn to Krishna, he will manage. Don't ask for, when you can go to Krishna, don't ask for a house by the sea and a color TV. Many people do so. They go, oh my dear Krishna, give me a house by the sea, color TV, Jaya Jagadish Hare. That's not a good prayer. Ask Krishna, what can I do for you? Rather, give me something, what can I do for you? And then Krishna will tell us. And if you think about it, Krishna will give you the right idea. And everybody can do something. Like you come into this temple, you can help us in so many different ways, if you want to. You can chant a little kirtan for 2 minutes. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Everyone, 1, 2, 3. Hare Krishna. Hare Rama, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Hare Bol, Nitai Gaur.
Jai Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jaya Prabhupada.